Zach, amidst the rain, a memorial of flowers, candles, and cards continues to grow on the steps of the police headquarters in downtown Columbia. And as the memorial grows, so do donations to the Officer Down Fund, which will continue for a different purpose. Next Saturday, there will be a silent auction at the Kemper Arena in Columbia, and you can still make donations at any Commerce Bank branch, the police headquarters, or the Atwill and Montgomery law offices. The money donated to the Columbia Police Foundation will go to support the family of Officer Bowden. The fund will also continue to assist wounded Officer Curtis Brown.
You know, the community has been so wonderful to us so far. I mean, it's just been almost overwhelming, the community support. We are asking through the Columbia Police Foundation for donations for Molly's family and also for Curtis Brown.
And you might have seen these blue ribbon magnets on cars driving around town. You can purchase one in the memory of Molly Bowden for $5 at the Columbia Police Headquarters. Zach, back to you.
Okay, thanks. That was KOMU's Michael Calhoun.
The people at Elton Hensley Airport in Fulton are flying high. That's because they're expecting the construction of a new runway to bring new business to the area.
So that will allow us to be able to, people that, you know, maybe with the companies in Fulton, and they presently are going to Columbia rather than coming in here.
The new runway, when built behind me, will be 4,000 feet long and 75 feet wide. That means they're expecting more private aircraft here in Fulton.
But with the new runway, it'll be more inviting to them to go ahead and come on in.
According to plans, the completed runway will cross over County Road 306, which will be split into two cul-de-sacs.
It's been several years that it's been on the plans to be done, and it's just been the last few years that things have come into where the funding has been able to be appropriated.
The estimated cost of the project is $2.5 million. The federal government is providing most of the funding. The city of Fulton has spent about $250,000 on the project.
We're excited that it actually is going to happen, and it looks like we can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Michael Calhoun, KOMU News, Fulton.
I get teary-eyed when I see him. It's, you know, he's very dear to me, of course. All my kids are, but you know, I'm just very proud of him.
Carolyn Welshmeyer has been waiting for this day since her son was called to serve 16 months ago.
He's always wanted to be in the Army ever since he was young.
Carolyn was just one of many moms praying for the safe return of the 428th Transportation Company from Al-Taji, Iraq.
He's always been my rock, and he's just, I've missed him tremendously. He'll never know how much. He can never know.
Traveling more than 500,000 miles in Iraq, troops encountered roadside bombs and gunfire. But on their way home, they encountered something else. Flags and ribbons placed by family and friends.
So, I'm very proud of him.
I just did my job.
Ted Welshmeyer completed his job, operating armored gun trucks to defend coalition convoys from terrorist attacks. And his company met people throughout Iraq, from Kuwait to Fallujah to the Syrian border.
They had so much freedom, they really didn't know how to act with it.
Now, the man other soldiers called Chief says he's looking forward most to spending time at home with his wife and children, and a luxury he's missed dearly this past year and a half.
Running water that you don't have to wait for a water truck to fill up.
Michael Calhoun, KOMU News, Jefferson City.
And you've got plenty of copies of this, and
Ann Wagner got her first lesson in politics 17 years ago. Her career began with the administration of then Missouri Governor John Ashcroft, and Wagner's been on the move ever since, literally.
I have traveled to some 48 states, 5 countries, and many of those states I have been to many, many times.
That's because 4 years ago, President Bush chose her to become the co-chair of the National Republican Party, due in part to her success in recruiting women for the conservative cause.
It was my pleasure to head up a program called the Winning Women, and we now started 18 leadership training programs across our country.
The extensive travel requirements are just one of the reasons why Wagner's deciding to call it quits. But she says she's not ruling out a position within the Bush White House or even running for public office herself.
We are thrilled, though, that she will be returning to Missouri to continue her work here in our state.
As Wagner continues her other job as head of the Missouri Republican Party, one Democrat expects a face-off.
Of course, I've got a lot of confidence in our state director, Roger Wilson, the former governor from here in Columbia, so it should be an interesting couple of years.
Michael Calhoun, KOMU News, Jefferson City. Senator Jim Talent is fighting a head cold.
And I'm seriously thinking of getting some.
Like many Missourians, his first choice of action is a nasal decongestant made with pseudoephedrine. But under a law making its way through the U.S. Senate, Talent would have a harder time finding relief, and not just in Missouri.
It's essential that we take a comprehensive action to stop methamphetamine. I mean, this is like a cancer that's invading communities all over Missouri and, in fact, all over the Midwest.
And pharmacists agree that cancer continues to grow.
Most of the states, especially here in the Midwest, are looking at some type of legislation similar to what passed in Oklahoma to try to attack this problem.
But Fitzwater believes the situation has become dire enough for the federal government to take action.
I think this problem is so serious that we've got to attack it from every aspect that we can.
The bill sponsored by Senator Talent would classify pseudoephedrine as a Schedule 5 drug. That means products like these would have to be kept behind the counter across the nation.
It was more of a problem when it was out front.
The Combat Meth Act would provide funding for states to track purchases of pseudoephedrine. Talent says the benefits of his bill outweigh inconveniences to cold sufferers like himself.
I mean, I've talked to families who've lost loved ones. I've talked to meth addicts who've managed to get off the drug and have told me how terrible it was.
Michael Calhoun, KOMU News, Columbia.
I would not doubt your patriotism, nor would I doubt the patriotism of any member of the United States Senate.
The race was billed as a heavyweight versus a newcomer. Incumbent Senator Jean Carnahan raised $6 million more than challenger Jim Talent, but at the end, Jim Talent squeaked by her. This time, Talent's not taking any chances. New campaign finance reports show he's raised more than $1.3 million in the past 3 months, outpacing what Carnahan did at this point 2 years ago.
He's raised more money in the first quarter or a year before the election than any Senate candidate in the history of Missouri.
It's usually harder to defeat an incumbent, especially one as well-funded as Talent. But one mid-Missouri Democrat thinks he's up to the challenge and wants to move from the State House to the nation's capital.
Fundraising isn't everything, although he does have George Bush's fundraiser, so that makes it pretty intimidating to a certain extent.
State Senator Chuck Graham finds himself in a familiar position, that of Jim Talent 2 years ago.
The more that I look at the race, the more serious I get. Last month, Jim Talent signed on to an anti-stem cell research bill.
And Graham's passion for protecting stem cell research makes him think he can overcome monetary obstacles. Graham says he won't make a decision on whether to run for the Senate seat until after the legislative session ends next month. Michael Calhoun, KOMU News, Columbia.